Chess is one of the handfuls of games in the records of mankind that has managed to fascinate the human mind on the same level as other games have. Chess is sometimes a metaphor for life, since it is a never-ending fight of intellect, tactics, and foresight. But what if I told you that two of the 20th century's brightest brains, J. Robert Oppenheimer and Albert Einstein, actually played a chess match? While both of these men have made major improvements to the progress of technology and humanity, their less popular chess match provides insight into their characters and the philosophical ferment of their era. In this video, we will look into the real game played by Oppenheimer and Einstein, the leaders in the world of physics, the identities of two physics titans, J. Robert Oppenheimer and Albert Einstein, will be permanently associated with the creation of the atomic bomb during World War II. Oppenheimer, widely called the founder and inventor of the atomic bomb, supervised the Manhattan Project, creating the first nuclear weapon arsenal. However, thanks to his groundbreaking developments in relativity theory and quantum mechanics, Einstein is arguably the greatest and most well-known conceptual physicist ever. During the stormy 1930s and 1940s, when both Oppenheimer and Einstein were at their intellectual peak, they sought solace in chess. In contrast to the frivolity of their experiments in science, their interactions were fierce intellectual combat. Many mysteries surround the rumored 1933 chess match between Albert Einstein and Robert Oppenheimer. Different versions of the event cast doubt on whether or not it took place. Let's observe as two of history's most brilliant minds square off. The first moments of the game. To begin, Albert Einstein took white and executed the book move pawn to e4, which has been taken numerous times in chess games. In response, Oppenheimer went on with e5. This is perhaps the most frequent chess standing, attained in the vicinity of 50 million times. To exert stress on the pawn, Einstein made a logical second move by moving his knight to f3. Oppenheimer's next move was the standard one. He guarded the central pawn by developing the queen's knight to the c6 square. Against a b5, Einstein fielded bishop. The counterattack was a pawn to a6, which captured the bishop and directly threatened the pawn on f7. Oppenheimer moved b5, attempting to force the bishop entirely out of his region, and the game swiftly veered off the usual road. Black's king was the only piece between the bishop and the pawn he aimed for when he switched directions to a more favorable diagonal. White has several options for defense after Black deployed the knight on move f6 and attacked the central pawn. Even though the pawn was in a position of strength, Einstein chose to play castles, except for when he had to relocate his bishop to safety. Every move Einstein took was intended to strengthen his standing. The ups and downs in the game? He freed pieces that hadn't yet had an opportunity to move and ensured the king's safety. Thus, Black had already made a couple of moves at this point. White's rook had its line of sight obscured by the pawn, and thus instead of playing defense, Einstein's rook went on the offensive. There was no longer a pawn in that location. Oppenheimer moved his pawn to protect his central knight with rook to e1 in response. At this point, Einstein makes a tactical error by attacking from the side. However, the pawn is moved to position a4. Oppenheimer made the move from pawn to b4, giving White the upper hand again. In response, Einstein rolled out the d3. Afterward, knight to c5 is acted out. Then knight took e5 out of nowhere, leaving Black with a terrible choice. Oppenheimer proceeded to move knight to e7 in this spot. As a result of the knight's defense, Black was still able to avoid castling in several ways. This round, Oppenheimer moved his pawn to f6. After Black's queen to h5 endangered the king, he moved his pawn to g6. Afterward, the knight holds on to the king, preventing it from capturing. The pawn is pinned to the rook, allowing it to capture. However, the queen seizes h8 afterward. The resign from Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer seized the bishop after trading away his other pieces. Here, Einstein might have easily filled in for bishop h6. Oppenheimer then moves his queen to d6, but Einstein quickly pressures the pinned piece by moving his bishop to h6. Oppenheimer put down a rook piece. Here, Einstein took on the role of queen to g7's knight, increasing the strain on the last one. Therefore, he just created a knight. Instead of resigning, Oppenheimer played his pawn to c5, the only pawn he hadn't already shifted. After that, knight c4 is played. After the knight moved to d2, his next move was the knight to c4. When the queen could no longer protect the knight, Oppenheimer leaves and presumably resigns once the night is taken. That's all for this video. Leave your thoughts on this moment. Also, take a minute out and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned. See you soon.